So it might be worth just giving an answer. So جزاك الله خير to more Safwan and to Mubarak giving me a chance to hopefully bring a bit of change to your life. I'm privileged to be here. So there's 2 seminars, and if you can, try and come to both so you understand how everything is connected, okay? And you understand why as the slides go on, okay? You don't need to take notes really about some stuff, because you can if you want to, but I'll email the slides across, and then Mona can send it to you. All I want you to do while this seminar goes on is I just want you to think. That's all I want you to do. Just think and just reflect about your own life. That's it. Okay? So firstly, somebody asked me, are you going to talk about coronavirus? And the answer is no. Okay? I'm not going to have a conversation about coronavirus. I'm just going to say one thing though, is, okay, so actually before I move on, so the sisters, whoever's doing the slides, I'm going to have to say next slide. Okay? So the sister who's doing the slide we're on now, is a picture of customer notice. Okay? So every time I say next slide, the brothers, I'm going to have to say next slide for the sisters to follow. Okay? So the slide we're up to, sisters, is the one that says customer notice. What I want you to do is, and whoever's listening to this elsewhere, is just don't stockpile. Okay? My wife got an email off Sainsbury's this morning. Just this morning got an email off the CEO of Sainsbury's saying, if we all, speak very quietly, if we all just buy what we need, yeah, not what we want, then everybody will have enough. Okay? So that's the one message I want to say about coronavirus. Okay? Just don't panic buy. Okay? Okay, so apologies, but I'm going to have to say next slide for each one. So this next slide is the slide that's headed as disclaimer for the sisters. So just remember, this is just an overview, okay? If you go into too much detail, I'll be here for hours and hours and hours talking, okay? Whatever you do, before you do anything, or before you tell anybody to do anything, you must consult your own GP before you make any changes, okay? And you have to. You can't do this on your own. You have to ask your own doctor before you make any changes, especially for those people who have got especially for those people who have got a medical condition or your own medication. So don't change anything without speaking to your own doctor, okay? And as much as I'd love to, after the program, I'd love to give you all personal advice, but that's just something that I don't do. If I had your medical notes or your blood tests or whatever, I could, but without that, it's virtually impossible. Okay, next slide, which starts as introduction. So we're going to talk about diet and exercise in this one. And in the next one we're going to talk about mental health. Now you have to understand this, okay? It's interlinked. You can't separate the 3. Some people, what they do when they want to get healthy, they get this Josh, usually, New Year's Eve, and they have a New Year's resolution, right? And what happens is they go, okay, I'm going to go on a super diet. But they miss the exercise bit, okay? And they fail. Some people, they go on the exercise flex. I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to smash it. But they have a rubbish diet, and so they fail. Some people do diet and exercise, but their mental health is still a bit clouded or they're struggling, and it actually directly impacts your physical health, your mental health. So you can't, the message what I'm trying to say is that you can't separate each. So it's important that you come to both, inshallah. So next week is scheduled for 11, but if you could do 10:30, is that okay? Because the poster says 11, but if you do 10:30, because I delivered it last week in Masjid Nur in Old Trafford, and there's just so much depth to mental health. I just need a bit of a half an hour more, so we're not rushed, basically. Okay, next slide. So the slide starts with why. So when you do anything in life, okay, what's worth doing is asking yourself why before how. Okay, why is it important? And this is why. And these are just bad statistics. Okay, this is 2 years old. You can get this online if you go on Public Health. They separate disease processes based on ethnicity as well. Okay, and basically in this country for Asians, whatever your religious denomination is, for Asians it's bad. Okay, you can read it yourself, some of the statistics. Over 50% of us are officially fat, overweight, obese. That's just terrible. Okay, 1/3 of our children are overweight, clinically overweight. Okay, so when I do pediatrics, one of my consultants who taught me, she said that it's really interesting why diabetes occurs so young in Asians. So I was like, okay, why? She said, because what happens is, what they found, they study us, okay? They study us, right? What they found was that when we're young, our parents, out of muhabbat, nothing else, what do? Cow. Eat. It's like a sign of an unhappy child is they're skinny, which is wrong, okay? And a sign of an unhappy marriage is a skinny husband, right? It's bonkers, isn't it? Right? So what she said was that they've studied us that at a young age we just feed our children too much. That's number one. And number two, we feed them the wrong stuff as well. It's just not cricket to get your child to shut up by giving them a sweet or a chocolate. That's just wrong. So what happens is we start off, we give them a bad hand as parents. Okay, and you're putting them at risk of diabetes at an early age. 1/3 of us are officially inactive. Okay, that's doing less than 30 minutes a week of activity. That's terrible, isn't it? We just sit there, okay? Half of us don't eat our 5 fruit and veg. Okay, we just don't, and subsidy doesn't count. Okay, subsidy doesn't count. Next slide. So, it's the slide should be for the sisters where it's a human body and different illnesses. So, just being overweight is recognized to cause stroke, heart disease, 13 types of cancer, something called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So liver disease is 2 types, alcohol-related or non-alcohol-related. What happens is when you've got a lot of fat in your body, it has to go somewhere, so bloodstream or your liver just takes hold of it, but it just stays there, doesn't go anywhere. The liver isn't in good shape, you're not in good shape. It's as simple as that, okay? And also the big one, diabetes, not last name, but you know, it's really common in Asians. Okay, next slide, overweight and inflammation, should be the heading. So, latest research shows that there is a direct link. Okay, if you're overweight, you have something called inflammation. Inflammation is the process where your body has a healing. It wants to heal itself. But that process of inflammation is simply exhausting for the body. It's constantly fighting something, which is for people who are overweight, excess fat. Okay, that we talked about leads to many diseases, but it also leads to a chronic state of feeling tired. And we see this all the time in general practice. People come in and they say, I'm chronically fatigued. I'm always tired. No matter how much sleep I get, no matter what I eat. Lethargy and fatigue. They just can't have that drive to do things. And we see this over and over and over again. Okay, and there's a direct link just by being overweight. Next slide. Which should start with why. So 15% of us suffer from diabetes. We think, with the medical brethren, we think this is an understatement, because the problem is we only know people who come to us. And a lot of us are doctor shy as it is anyway. You should be doctor shy, okay? They do well man's checks when you hit 45 and 40 for a well woman's check. But you should go to the doctor to get an understanding of what your body is, what shape your body's in. Just by being Asian, you have a 6-fold increased risk of having diabetes. And that's partly genetic, that's partly cultural, that's partly dietary change, and that's partly because of the fact we're not active, okay? So there's massive increase, and the capital of the world for diabetes is India. When I read this, I thought it would have been UAE or Saudi, because they've got 40% obesity in those countries. Nearly 40% of our children suffer from tooth decay because we give them sweets to shut them up, and then we don't brush their teeth. It's just bad. These are all bad statistics, okay? And nearly one in 10 suffer from heart disease, and the list actually does go on. But I don't want to bore you. You can look at it yourself. But this is what we're dealing with. Okay, next slide. It still should be wise. So 1/3 of us report symptoms of anxiety. Okay, that excessive nervousness and worry. This is a sad one, okay? 1 in 10, just over 1 in 10 men and 1/4 of our women suffer from either anxiety or depression. Okay, that's massive numbers, okay? And this is a bad one, more than 1 in 10 of us, men and women, suffer from suicidal thoughts. So this is actually a really big problem. And of course in our communities, it's a massive stigma to have mental health problems. You're just not allowed to have emotion in our communities. It's weird. It's just not allowed. When the Prophet when Khadija passed away, Lady Khadija, What did they call that year? Huzn. It's okay to have emotion, but we just don't allow it. It's a sign of weakness, it's not. It's a sign of strength when you allow yourself to have emotions. And generally, as Asians, we suffer from chronic stress. I mean, have you ever met an Asian who's not stressed? Have you ever met one who's not stressed, genuinely? It's really hard to find. We'll talk about that in the next one, about how to manage that. Okay, next slide. Still on why. So remember, disease, illness, being overweight, obesity, chronic inflammation that we talked about. Look, it affects your physical state. You don't feel good, It affects your mental state, Internally you don't feel good. Not only does your body feel terrible, internally you don't feel good. But also, ultimately, it affects your spiritual state. Simple. It really does. If your body isn't in good shape, if your mental state isn't in the right place, it will affect your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ultimately the application of His deen. Okay? Next slide. So we should start off with solution focused. So we want to be solution focused. We're very good at moaning and complaining, and we're not very good about doing anything about it. But I say to my children, don't moan. No one likes a moaner, even a moaner. Yeah? No one likes a moaner, a whiner, even a moaner. You've got to be solution focused and you'll push through it. So prevention is better than cure for those of us that don't have an illness. For those that do, in fact those that do and don't, if you make small changes, I promise you, inshallah, you'll have massive impact, But the key is, it's consistency, It's not short bursts or quick diets and quick exercise regimes to shed those excess baggage on your waist. It's about long-term, sustainable lifestyle changes so you can enjoy your food still, you can enjoy exercise, because sometimes it can be boring, and live a healthier life, Next slide. There should be a picture. So what happens is, when you go to your doctor, if you go to, openly, I used to be like this a few years ago, if you were to go to your GP and you have a problem, what does the doctor usually give you? Some medication, right? You've got this problem, you take this, and then go. How many doctors have given you, when you've been for a medical problem, any lifestyle advice? And if they do, how meaningful is it? It's nebulous to say to someone, just sort your diet out and go for a run every 3-4 times a week, you'll be fine. Now, culturally, and it's our fault, as docs, what we've done is we've created this cultural mindset that if you've got a problem, we'll give you a drug, you'll be fine. And psychologically, what does that do to the patient? What does it do to the patient? They don't change. They're like, I've got some medication, I'll just carry on because it'll keep my blood pressure under control, it'll keep my sugar under control, my cholesterol will be low. Great, I can carry on doing what I'm doing, And what we've got long queues of people coming to see us who want this sort of solution, and we've got very few people who want lifestyle changes. Very few. So I'm very fortunate because Allah's put me in a practice where the doctors that I work with are on this flex of what are we doing? Why don't we try and actually get to the root of the problem and change that? And if we need to give you medication, we'll give you medication. Give me an example, I can't mention names with confidentiality. Let's just call him Mike, This guy was 36 years old and he had a heart attack, right? 36 years old and he had a heart attack, right? And he didn't know, but he was diagnosed with diabetes in the process. And he came to see me, and I said, what do you eat for breakfast? He said, I have a bowl of cereal, 2 rounds of toast, and a cup of tea. I said, right, what time does something go into your mouth after that? He said, 10 o'clock, I have 2 rounds of toast with a cup of tea when I'm at work. I said, great. What time does the next thing go in your mouth, and what is it? He said, lunchtime, between 12 and 1, I have a sandwich, a packet of crisps, chocolate, those meal deals that you get from Tesco. Okay, great. And then what time is the next time something goes in your mouth? He said, about 3 o'clock, I have 2 rounds of toast and a cup of tea. I have to dip it in my tea, Okay, what time is the next time something goes into your mouth? He goes, about 5, 6 when I get home, my wife cooks a meal. That's great. And then when? He said, before I go to bed, I have to have 2 rounds of toast before I go to sleep. I said, Mike, you're having a loaf of bread a day. And he said, oh yeah. He got so to diagnose diabetes, you have to have sugar level, don't worry about the units, but the number is 48 or more. Okay, his was 106, 105, Now this guy was in trouble, right? Within 3 months, he nearly halved it by giving up bread. That's all he did, along with exercise, lifestyle changes. Okay, I was so happy for him. Another guy did exactly the same thing. MashaAllah, he lost so much weight. He had to buy a new wardrobe. Right, I was so happy for him. He was, back to having intimacy with his wife because he couldn't, because he was massive, and he had his life back just by doing these small little changes. Now put it on its head. Then we got Abdullah, a brother Abdullah who comes to see me, right? And I said to him, "Bye. If you don't stop doing what you're doing, okay, and sort your diet out and get moving, you're going to have a heart attack." What was his response? "Dr. Sahab, please, let me enjoy my life, And he did. He had a heart attack coming back from India, and the plane had to be diverted. I hadn't seen him for a long time. He goes, "Hey, what happened? This is what happened." And so that's the mindset that we want to change. Okay, that you don't want to be in that place, in the first place. Okay. And you can see changes by doing lifestyle changes, okay? And I'll give you examples as I go along. Next slide. It should start the slide with impossible. So what happens is the mindset initially for us, not just Asians, just generally humans, we have this thing of I can't do it. I can't do it. Okay? Our practice has become a park run practice. I don't know if you know what that is. Park run, heard of that? Yeah? So loads of parks, they get people to just run. That's why it's called park run, okay? So we were talking about how doctors could get involved. So I'm not a very strong runner. I can swim, I can cycle, no problem. But running is, I'm not good at it. So one of the doctors said to me, "Why don't you do it?" I said, "I can't run." She said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I can't run." You know that? Impossible, yeah? I can't run. She said, if there was a car crash outside and there was a medical emergency, would you run? I said, "Yeah, sure, you can run." You can run, okay? That's the point. You want to switch your mindset. That if you just get rid of, if you split the word, it spells I'm possible. If you get rid of the I am, it's possible. Okay? Next slide. What you have to remember is that change is a process. It's not one event. Okay? There's very few people nowadays who, raise their hands to Allah and they have a massive transformation, because we're not of the same caliber of the people before us. Okay? So it's not going to be some magic thing that's going to happen to you overnight. You have to commit to making small changes, okay? The example I give to a lot of people is this. If you go and see your dentist just twice a year and you don't brush your teeth for the whole year, what will happen to your teeth? They'll fall out, right? If you brush your teeth twice a day for 2 minutes and floss at least once a day, see your hygienist twice a year, and you see your GP, your dentist twice a year, what will happen to your teeth? They'll glow. The whole process of brushing your teeth twice a day for 2 minutes is painfully boring. Okay? There's nothing to it. But the point is that if you do small, consistent things, you'll see change. So what some people do, they go on a crazy diet, and then 2-3 days after, they go look in the mirror, and what do they see? Nothing. They go to the gym, they'll smash it out, they'll run 1 hour every day until they drop, and each day they come home and they look in the mirror, and what do they see? Nothing. And so they give up after a week or 2. This will take you 3 months for you to start seeing a change, and at least 6 months for you to reach your baseline. But the point of this conversation isn't that. The point of the conversation is this is about long-term lifestyle changes for the rest of your life, so that inshallah you don't have disease, and those of you that have disease or illness, inshallah you can reverse it. There's evidence, and we'll talk about this as we go along. So next slide, inshallah, which should be what's your relationship with food. So this is the first question I want you to ask yourself, okay? What is your relationship with food? When you see this disgusting doner kebab, right? What's your first response? Right? Is it, yeah, look at that, I'm going to get some of that after this, okay? Or is it healthy or is it unhealthy? Okay? Next, just ask yourself this question. What's my relationship with food? Next slide, purpose of food. So the purpose of food, okay, it has there's physical purposes and there's actual spiritual connotations as well. Okay? So physically, food is there just to keep you going. Okay? It's not to just eat. It has a purpose of keeping your back straight. Yeah? And giving you that energy to get through that day. Okay? Is everything okay so far? Yeah. But the other thing is it has spiritual connotations as well. That you know how good do you feel in Ramadan. It's just everybody, no matter how spiritual you are or not, no matter how pious you are or not, everybody seems to feel spiritually amazing in Ramadan. Okay? So the opposite applies as well. In that, if you overeat, you actually feel spiritually, just a bit pulled down. Okay? So it has both physical and our ulama have told us that our intention with food should just be to strengthen me to serve Allah. That is it. To what? To strengthen me to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's it. So just ask yourself, what's my relationship with food? Yeah, it's a natural human need to sustain life, but can you control yourself? I just ask yourself these questions. Remember we talked about, I just want you to reflect. That's all I want you to do for these 2 seminars, okay? How big are your portions? And some people, it's like, goodness, now how do you get all that down you? Some people's portions, they're like, you've got flat plates, they're like layers and layers, and think, goodness me, how much do I eat? And also ask yourself this question, do you comfort eat? Yeah? Some people comfort eat, some people stress eat. When you're stressed out, you're a bit worried, what's the first thing you do? Go to talk about it. Do you eat because you're bored? Some people have got nothing to do. Inshallah, I hope it doesn't happen, but if this country goes on lockdown, don't be that guy who just eats because they're bored. Okay? That's something to do, but we'll talk about that. Okay? Just ask yourself these questions. Next slide. So how often do I need to eat? Okay? So I want you to just try this, okay? We've tried this and it works. Just aim for twice a day. That's it. Just aim to eat proper meals twice a day, and aim for 10 to 12 hours apart if you can. This time of year is absolutely perfect. Fajr is what time of year? 5:30, yeah? Stay awake, 6 o'clock, have something to eat. And have a good breakfast. We'll talk about what to eat in a minute. And then Maghrib, 6 o'clock, maybe before, maybe after, you've got your 10, 12 hours done. Okay? If you feel hungry, first, before you put anything in your mouth, just ask yourself, am I really hungry? Or am I stress eating, comfort eating, or boredom eating? Okay, one of my friends, he's a trainer, he's a convert, used to be a boxer, he got battered in a ring, nearly died, had a moment, found Islam, mashallah, right? This guy, you know him, Akhil, right? This guy, he is in his 50s, and he is fit as anything. Now, he puts people to shame. When I used to train with him, he used to run backwards, I used to run forwards. This guy's mazboot, right? Proper and strong, right? He taught me this. He said, most people aren't hungry, they're thirsty. Most people, they're not hungry, they're thirsty. So don't mistake it for thirst. Okay? And if you are genuinely hungry, okay? If you're genuinely hungry, and the sign for that is that the stomach makes noise. Okay? Not you make noise, your stomach makes noise. Okay? When you're genuinely hungry, just try this. Just snack on raw fruit and veg. Okay? If you are not accustomed to raw veg, have it with hummus. It's very low in calorie and it tastes really nice as well. Okay? So you've got to get your kids to eat veg, hummus. No sweets, hummus. Okay? But just snack on raw vegetables or fruit throughout the day. Okay? If you need to. And that's all I want you to do. Okay? You do this. I give this to my patients, they do really well. Okay? Next slide. Water is magic. Water, I don't like using these terms, but water is magic, okay? Aim to have at least 1.5 to 2 litres a day consistently of water. Really, really important, okay? It cleanses your liver. When your liver's clogged with rubbish, it cleanses it, okay? If you drink tea or coffee, limit it to twice a day, at least 8 to 10 hours apart, because caffeine has a long half-life of about 8 to 10 hours. It stays in your system for a long time. But just limit it to twice a day, okay? And if you are gonna drink green tea. It has caffeine in it, but it's an antioxidant, so it really cleanses your brain, your bowel. Gives you a bit of a stimulus. Like when I'm tired, I have green tea. If I need a bit of I have green tea, okay? But it's actually really good for you as well. But water's magic, okay? So incorporate that. And essentially, you know, our Prophet ﷺ, he only used to drink 2 things. Water and milk. And nothing happened with our Prophet ﷺ by accident. Everything was wahi. Okay? So just, we've got to reflect, okay? We've got to reflect on what goes in. Like even fruit juice, you know, if you get pure... Have you ever made your own orange juice? Have you? How many oranges do you need? Like, loads. How much sugar goes into a glass then? Do you understand? I'm not saying don't have it, but don't have it every day. It's all about moderation, okay? Next slide. What do I eat? So what do you eat? Okay, you need a balance, okay, of protein, which is the greatest energy source from foods, okay? The more protein you have, less hungry you are, the less cravings you have, it balances your sugar levels and stays in your system for a long time. Carbs, sugars essentially, okay? But think complex. We'll talk about this, don't worry. Think complex, not refined. Because in complex carbohydrates, the sugars release slowly throughout the day, okay? And then fats. And it's about having healthy fats, which is essentially unsaturated. We'll do this in detail in a minute. Okay, so they're the 3 types of foods that we generally are exposed to. And doesn't that look like a beautiful breakfast? Next slide. You should see a slide of a fried egg with avocado and vegetables and kidney beans and cheese. Now, doesn't that look like... I mean, some of you are thinking, what is that? Look, bro, Go-Go Pops is not good for you. It simply isn't. On the book list, as the slides go along, there's a GP down in London called Dr. Griffiths. Okay, it's on the book list. He's wrote a book called Waste Disposal. Waste as in waistline. Okay? He talks about types of sugars that are in foods. Okay? A bowl of bran flakes has got just as... In fact, it's got more bad sugar than a Mars bar. Okay? These things are pumped with things that shouldn't really... You know, it's just too much sugar, basically. It's refined sugar. This sort of a breakfast, okay, is high in protein, slow release carbohydrates and healthy fats. You won't get hungry. It will stay in your system for a long time. You won't have that sugar craving. If you have your breakfast at 8, you won't have that sugar craving at 10. Think of my friend Mike, who used to dunk a toast at 10 o'clock because of that sugar craving. Okay, that's a beautiful breakfast. Just think about it, yeah? You don't have to commit, just think about it. So thinking, oh my God, I can't get rid of my Cocoa Pops. You have to get rid of your Cocoa Pops. Next slide. Go organic. I want you to go organic, okay? And I mean this. Go organic, if you can. Why? Next slide. Okay, and the next slide, we should start with Not on the Label. There's a book by Felicity Lawrence called Not on the Label. Get it, okay? It will change the way you buy food. This is where it starts. Okay, have you ever had an organic apple? Anybody? Yeah? Our brother has. It tastes different, doesn't it? It tastes completely different. First time you have it, you think, oh my God, I can't have this. It's an acquired taste. If you look at an organic carrot, it doesn't look like something you want to eat. Because it looks deformed. Right? So what she talks about is that unfortunately, because life is just so fast and everybody wants everything now, because that's the demand, providers are seeing to that demand, okay? And in the process of keeping things on the shelf longer to make them look nice, when you go buy an apple, you're going to buy the crusty one, or you're going to buy the shiny one? You're going to buy the shiny one, aren't you? So in order to keep it on the shelf for longer, in order to keep it freshly packed, quote unquote, it denatures food. You lose all the essential nutrients, most of it, okay? Think about meats. Okay, it's great that we're HMC, conscious. That's great. But we're an ethical community. It's just not cricket for us to be eating chickens who are locked up in these camps, these encaged places where they're eating their own feces. If you think just because it's HMC, right, that you have this meat because it's halal in terms of slaughtered, if you think it's tayyib, it's not. Okay? You want to think about being ethical in when you eat. Are there any organic halal meat providers in this area? Do you know? Are there any? You need to find them. Okay, there is in Oldham. I use him. So he comes down to Manchester. He's a one-man show. I think it's called Eden Foods. So he does it himself. The He does it himself. He's on a farm with an organic farmer, so they're grass-fed. They're fed nothing else. No chemicals, no nothing, just grass-fed. They're allowed to roam freely and enjoy the world that Allah's given them. They're not, in little camps headbutting each other. Neither are they, hit or taught, stuff like that. It affects you, okay? This is what she talks about, that some of our meats are pumped with hormones. Okay, some of our meats are just pumped with water to make it look good. There was a case near where I live. There was a halal meat shop, okay, all certified, okay, and this guy was selling lamb, but half of the lamb keema was horse. And my guy, right, he got audited by the council, warning, carried on. Audited again. It's bizarre, isn't it, why someone would do that? Audited again, then was closed down. But the Muslim community in that area just looked at the sign, it's certified, it must be good. But this guy was half of his meat. The lamb was horse. You think, well, if you were doing that for lamb, God knows what you're doing for anything else. One of my friends, he asked someone at a meet, there was a slice of something and it looked like, he said, is this ham or turkey? Right? And so the guy said, are you Muslim? He said, yeah. He goes, for you it's turkey. He said, if I wasn't Muslim, what would it be? It would be ham. But what she talks about, Felicity, is that we're just ethically, it's all gone wrong. But get this book, it talks about these sort of things that you actually need to know what goes in your food because it affects you. If you eat haram, our ulama say your actions, you've got little chance of having good action. If you eat things that might be doubtful, your actions will suffer. Do you see? So it's really important to know what goes in your mouth. Next slide. So this is what we do. When we go shopping, right? We'll go to one of our food stores, okay, a husband and wife, and they look at some sweets, okay, and they go, let me just check the gelatine, make sure there's no gelatine in there, okay. Now, despite the ingredients saying, look, it's high in sugar, high in rubbish, cancer-causing agents, for the sake of Allah, stop eating these things. It's written in bold, and then we say to each other, there's no gelatine. And we go, yeah, let's get it. And it goes, this is us, okay? This is us. Read your food labels. That's what I want you. That's the message from Felicity Lawrence. Would you eat something? If Mona Safwan, right, he's giving me a bottle of water, right? If I saw him just put a few drops in there, right? I want to ask him, Mona, what have you put in my water? And if he says, yeah, bro, don't worry about it. But I'm not listening to you. What have you put in my water? And then he says, methyl dextrol. Right? What's my next question? What is that? And he says, you don't need to worry about it. Would you take that? You wouldn't, would you? And if you read your food labels, you think, what is this? What is this? What is that? What is this? What is that? And you need to know what goes in. So what I'm trying to say is, just because it's halal doesn't mean it's what? Tayyib, okay? So just have a think. Next slide. Protein. So protein is Latin for proteus, which means the most important. So protein is the most important thing that you need to ingest throughout the day, okay? It's the building blocks of the body, okay? You need to have more of that than anything else. And aim to eat protein with every meal. It reduces fat, gets rid of your curry belly, okay? Because we can't say beer belly. Okay, gets rid of your curry belly, and it helps you build muscle. Simple. Protein is good. Okay, next slide. Protein-rich foods. Eggs. We love eggs. Asians love eggs, okay? Eggs are good. Meat, remember, organic, grass-fed, okay? Go for that. Find out if there's any in this area. If there isn't, there's a business model there for you, okay? Unfortunately, what we do, we say, it's too expensive. Your life is wealth, okay? Just ask yourself, how much money do you spend on nonsense? Things that you don't need. Health is everything, okay? It's a sacrifice, but it's worth doing. Fish is great. Eat as much fish as you want, especially deep ocean fish, cold ocean fish. Salmon, non-tin tuna, non-tin stuff. Mackerel, sea bass, okay? Really good stuff, okay? Rich protein. Oats has got protein in it, as well as it being a complex carbohydrate, which is really good for breakfast. Low-fat Greek yogurt, okay? Low-fat, has to be low-fat. Milk has got protein in it. Broccoli, magic green thing that Allah's given us, okay? Quinoa, it's got tons of protein, tons of low-risk carbohydrates. It's like a grain, okay? Try it, it's really nice. Dal, Gujarati's love dal. Dal's amazing, okay? Have as much dal as you want, okay? But with little roti, which I'll come to, okay? Nuts has actually got quite a lot of protein in it. Come on. Next slide. Understand your carbohydrates, okay? There's two types. There's simple, complex. Simple, quick energy. What gives you quick energy? Literally, chocolate bars, okay? Complex is broken down slowly and it's absorbed over time, okay? Next slide. Problem with carbs. The problem with carbs is that we essentially have too much in our diet, okay? If you have too much carbohydrate, okay, or you add sugar to your foods and your drinks, eventually what will happen is you're putting yourself at risk of diabetes, heart disease, and even cancer. Okay, so what happens in diabetes is this. When you eat something, like let's just say you have a chocolate bar, a hormone is released called insulin from your pancreas, okay? That insulin wants to get hold of that glucose, that sugar, okay, break it down and get it absorbed into your muscle to use as energy. If there's too much floating around, it gets converted into fats, stays in your, clogs your arteries, or goes into your liver, what we talked about. And essentially, this is the take-home message. If you remember anything from the diet one, is this. Get rid of carbs. Just get rid of them. We have too much of it. Rice, roti, chapati, bread, potato, biscuits, cakes, sweet stuff, chocolate, halwa, sugary drinks, sugary tea, and the list goes on. I had this conversation with an Asian lady on Thursday. She said, what am I supposed to eat? See? Do you see that Asian response? And then I gave her a list. Okay, and we don't exercise. When was the last time you saw an Asian go for a run? You don't, do you? Why? What's wrong with you? Get on your bike, go for a run, go for a walk. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, you've seen those Asian ladies, man, I hate nobody Pakistanis, but have you seen those Asian ladies who go for a walk in the Shawakamis and their trainers? Man, respect to them. Okay, get out. Okay, Allah's made the world beautiful. Okay, and then, so it essentially gets converted to fats. Okay, so I'm gonna have to speed up because I'm conscious of time. Okay, next slide. Complex carbohydrates. So you want to think, if you're gonna have grains, have oats. If you're gonna go for rice, brown is better than white. It's still got carbs, but it's slow release. Okay, quinoa has got slow release carbohydrates. A good substitute for rice. Now, think. Remember we talked about you get a hunger craze. Okay, vegetables, but raw vegetables. Okay. Just have those. It's a slow release. If you're going to go for fruit, these ones are the top ones that release slow energy slowly. Okay? Kajur is actually a quite amazing fruit that Allah gave us. Okay, next slide. The bottom line. The bottom line is this. Avoid junk. Okay? What I mean is, what I want you to do is psychologically take it to another level where it is not in your diet anymore until you reach a point where you have control. People, what happens is when they say, don't say this, don't say I'm giving up sugar, it doesn't work. Okay? What you say is this. I, as of today, I am someone who does not eat sugar. Okay? You become, why is it easy for a Muslim to have no, it's not even a conversation. If someone says to you, would you like a drink of alcohol? It's not even a conversation like that. And it doesn't even bother you. Why? Because this is who we are. Why is it easy for a vegan to not, despite how nice Mash's burger might look like, right? Why is it for a vegan they can sit there and go, I'm going to get a veggie, and they have no issues with it? Why? Because that's who they are. Okay? In the Jewish community, they don't have anything but kosher. Why is it easy for them? Because that's who they are. You have to tell yourself psychologically, this is who I am. Okay? I don't have sugar. And what do you cut it out? You cut out all these things that you can see on there. You cut it out and you say, this is me. And then when you, and only you will know, when you get to that point psychologically where you can have control, okay, of not having it every day, of not having it, I'm going to have it on Jummah because Jummah is a special day, right? You can do it when, okay, yeah, we've got family around, I'm going to join in and, have some, make dessert for them, that's fine. But, it's Eid, or a wedding, if you can control yourself to that, once you reach that point, that's when you know you've done it, okay? Otherwise, sugar's quite an addiction. It's an addictive thing. Just stay away from it. Okay, next slide. Wheat dilemma, which has got carbs. So remember, wheat is a recognized culprit behind a lot of chronic diseases. And for most of us, it's hard to let go of roti. Okay, it's fine. I understand. It's hard to not have a salad without roti. Okay, but why don't you try this? Why don't you get large leafy vegetables? Okay, like a cabbage or a lettuce, large, and use that as a roti. Just try it, okay? And you'll see psychologically you're still having that motion of I'm dipping something in my salad. A lot of Asians have tried this and found loads of benefit. Okay? If you're going to have roti, try spelt flour, coconut flour, oat flour, or almond flour. It's not ideal, but it just has a lower, what they call glycemic index. The sugar levels are a little bit lower, by about 10 units, which is quite low actually. But also, it doesn't have the effects of wheat, the inflammation effects. Because spelt flour is sprouted wheat. I have spelt flour roti, you can't tell the difference. It tastes just as good. Easier to digest. I don't feel bloated. Because it doesn't have the effects of that wheat. Okay? Next slide. The rice dilemma. Another staple diet in our, staple ingredient in our diet. This is something that we have all the time. Why don't you try this? Instead of having rice all the time, why don't you shred or chop your vegetables so it looks like small rice? It's a technique. Then psychologically you tell yourself it's like rice, but eventually you'll get over it, and you're not having rice with your salad. Okay? Especially try and fine chop broccoli or cabbage, because anything that's green is good. Okay? Or you can get cauliflower rice. And if you still want rice, that's fine, no more than once or twice a week. Brown is better than white. Okay? So, next slide, aloo dilemma. Like one of my friends said, you can't have a salad without aloo. Okay? Any Pakistanis here? No? Where are they, man? Right? No aloo paratha. Okay? And if you're going to have it just once a month, aloo paratha is really, really nice. Okay? My in-laws from Pakistan, it's actually really nice. But when you eat aloo paratha, you can feel the oil coming out of your face. It's like, I'm going to have a heart attack in a minute. It's really nice, but only once a month. And why don't you, instead of potato, why don't you have cauliflower in your salad? It's really nice. You don't have to have... And if you still want potato, it's not ideal, but it has less of a sugar content, and it's released more slowly. Try sweet potatoes. They're slightly better, not ideal. Okay? And what you must never do is have all three. Never have rice, roti, and potato in a meal. That's just carbs galore. Okay? If you do, next slide, which should be run. Okay? If you have all three together, you need to go for a run. If you have chicken korma, do you know how long you have to run for before you burn it off? Just have a guess, non-stop. 34 minutes. That's without roti, that's without rice. So just a chicken korma for one person, right? And that's not even an upnas serving. That's a very conservative serving when you go to a Ganju's restaurant, right? To burn that off, 34 minutes of non-stop running. Now imagine if you add in rice or roti or aloo. You're asking for it. Okay, next slide, which should be more evidence of increased weight loss by reducing carbs and fat. So if you remember anything from the diet, if you get rid of carbs, you will lose weight without doing anything. Okay, and Ramadan's proof. Those of you that have tried it, Ramadan is proof. You actually lose weight without doing anything. Okay, but then we have Dietary and all those. Next slide, fats. So this gets confusing, okay, if you go and research it yourself. There's good fats, which your body needs for energy, and there's bad fats which the body stores, and then it essentially clogs arteries and puts you at risk of stroke and heart attacks. Okay, next slide, which should be trans fats. Basically, avoid these. What happens is, trans fats is liquid oil that's converted into a semi-solid molecule through the process of frying. Okay? Now, everything that is bad for you is either fried or semi-fried. So what happens is, it might be, when you read the label, it says sunflower oil or vegetable oil. Oh yeah, it's halal, right? Vegetable oil, and then they fry it, whatever they fry. That oil is semi-solid now. It is rock hard to burn that off, like hard. Right? When I told my brother about this, he said, "I'm going to boycott your talks for the sake of samosas and Quran." I was like, "Bro, it is not good for you. It really isn't. It might be nice. Samosas are really nice, right? These small sauce, what do they call them? Kopinjo? Is that what they call them? These, whatever they're called. That's the spring rolls, right? That's what happens when you get married to Pakistani. You forget all your Gujarati. I don't have Khaliji anymore, guys. So what? Unless I go to my mum's. But what happens? When you fry them, it's semi-solid fat goes in you. It's rock hard to burn up. And so look, fried foods, cookies, cakes, pastries, chocolates, biscuits. All this process happens during making of these things, and processed foods. Okay. So you've got to be super careful on what goes in, especially with trans fats, okay? Next slide. Good fat foods. So avocado, okay? It's gorgeous, okay? It's really nice avocado. Cheese, low-fat cheese, is actually a good type of fat, as long as you're, gentle with it. It's all about moderation, okay?
Eggs has got a level of good fat. Fish has got omega-3, really good for your heart and cholesterol. Almonds and walnuts are the best. When I was young, right, what did your parents tell you to have in the morning? Badam. How many? 7. Mubarak, the 7 doors to Jannah. Maybe they got it from that, right? 7 badam, okay? And what? Actually, they were right. It's got tons of magnesium in it. Magnesium. Anybody's got exams, have badam or anything with magnesium in, it actually improves your mental function. If you're going to have oil, olive oil and coconut oil is the best, okay? Olive oil, and our Prophet told us to cook in olive oil. That this doesn't happen by accident, okay? Remember, everything he said was because of wahi, lain matlub. Next slide. So if you want recipes, just check out these 2 websites, okay? British Heart Foundation, for people who have heart disease, or if you know someone with heart disease, or Diabetes UK, okay? Just check those out. They've got a little section on Asian recipes, okay? Next slide. The key is in both, if you look at them, is that they measure content of oil very, very carefully. We just pour it in. There's no like measure. It's just a bit more, right, that's it, yeah. And if there's too much, we go, well, we don't even drain it out. And if you look at the recipes, it's like minute teaspoon worth of oil. So they don't pump their food with oil. That's the key. Next slide. Whatever you eat, okay? So we talk about what to eat. But whatever you eat, you need to stop when you start to feel full. Our Prophet ﷺ, he advised us, مَا مَلَأَ إِبْنِ آدَمْ وِعَاءً شَرًّا مِنْ بَطْنِهِ. The Prophet ﷺ said that the son of Adam doesn't fill a vessel worse than what? His stomach. بِحَسْبِ إِبْنِ آدَمْ لُقَيْمَاتٍ. A few morsels is enough for the son of Adam. Okay? وَإِنْ كَانَ لَا مَحَلَ لَهُ. And if he can't do that, he needs to eat more than a few morsels, then what? فَثُلُثُ لِلطَّعَامِ وَثُلُثُ لِلشَّرَابِ وَثُلُثُ لِلنَّفَسِ. So 1/3 for food, 1/3 for water or fluid, and 1/3 for air. Right? Just rewind 1,000 years. Go back to Abbasid Khalifa area at time when everyone used to come to the Muslim world to study medicine. One Christian doctor, Imam Ghazali mentions this in the Ihya, one Christian doctor, he heard this in one of the lessons on medicine. And he said, check this out, he said, مَا سَمِعْتُ كَلَامًا أَعْجَبُ مِنْ هَذَا فِي قِلَّةِ الطَّعَامِ. I've not heard anything more amazing than this with regards to reducing your food intake. إِنَّهُ لَكَلَامٌ حَكِيمٌ. This is someone from who's extremely wise. Fast forward to now. When I mentioned this to my colleagues, that this is the advice that our Prophet ﷺ gives us, one of them, she just sat back and went, you know, if everybody did this, game over. To the effect. These are people who have no direct link with our Prophet ﷺ, and they are amazed by it. We have it. And you know, if Ibn Rajab, he wrote commentary, Imam al-Nawawi's 40 hadith. The last 10, he's put 5 extra ones in, and one of them is this one. And in his commentary, he talks about how the scholars of medicine of his time used to say the whole of medicine is in this hadith. The whole of medicine is in this hadith by just stopping when you know 1/3. And in fact, there's a story where there's a man, he's got quite a big belly, and the Prophet ﷺ comes to him and puts his hand on his belly and says, you know, it's better that you don't have this. Now, when we hear these things, our ulama, they tell us, you know, when you hear these stories of the Prophet ﷺ, you just close your eyes and imagine that you're with him. And if he came to you or I and put his hand on our tummy and said, "Bhai, this isn't good for you," what would you do? Now, the legacy of the Prophet ﷺ is timeless. It carries on until the end of time. Okay? And that's how you view, when you hear advice of the Prophet ﷺ, you imagine that he's just next to you talking to you. And if you do that over and over again, it'll sink in. But the key is just stop when you start to feel a little bit full. Stop. As nice as it tastes. Okay? Next slide. So anybody with diabetes, okay, feel free to try this, okay? But speak to your doctor first. This is amazing stuff, okay? It's the 8-week blood sugar diet. It's all about having low carbs, okay? And you can actually bring your diabetes under control within 8 weeks, and some people you can reverse it. So we've got patients in our practice who have reversed diabetes, and some of them we're going to get them off medication as well at the same time. Now, isn't that the way you want to be? No meds. I can control it myself. It's a really good book to get hold of and try it if you have diabetes, but speak to your GP first, because you'll need to tweak your medications so you don't have any hypoglycemic, your sugar doesn't go low and you don't faint. The other one is Newcastle diet, which is really similar to the diabetic diet, but have a look at it. for those who are interested. Anybody with heart disease, go on a Mediterranean diet. Just Google it, there's loads of stuff out there. Okay? There's tons of evidence. It's recommended by cardiologists across the globe. Okay? And it's actually relatively easy to follow. And it's nothing different to what we've already talked about. Next slide. Hormone balance. Anybody who's got a chronic inflammatory condition, think thyroid disease, think rheumatoid arthritis, think even diabetes. Anybody with any menstrual problem, or females with any menstrual problems or period problems, this is a really good diet to follow. But word of warning, it's really hard. I know people who have tried this, patients who have tried this, and they found it really hard. They get really hangry. What's hangry? When you're hungry and angry. Okay? And it's actually an elimination diet, then you bring it back in and work out what foods suit you or not. But many people have found this to regulate their cycles really, really well. And they actually have lighter cycles, less painful and more regular. Don't worry, you don't need to, these slides will go out, you don't need to worry about jotting things down. Next slide, another good read. So I'm reading this one right now, and I put it on, I think 2 days ago. One of the nurses gave it to me, Life Without Bread. It's convincing evidence of positive outcomes if you just give up carbohydrate. It's a really good read, and it gives you easy to use units on how you work out what's got, how much carbs has this got, how much carbs has that got. Really good book to get hold of if you want to look for evidence. Next slide. So we talked about waste disposal by Dr. John Griffiths. Really good book to get hold of. There's 2 sections to it. There's one on diet, there's one on exercise. Power exercises at the back. How, if you're busy, how you can just do it at home. I think he calls it 12-minute workout. The South Asian Health Solution, Ronesh Sina, one of my favourite books. Really, really applicable to us. Okay? Because it's written by an Asian who understands Asian culture and how we think on diet, exercise, etc., etc. Really good book to get hold of. There's a website called Nutrition. It's got loads of recipes by a qualified nutritionist and lots of stuff about Ramadan as well. She's actually got a little handbook on Ramadan. Really worth getting hold of for your communities. Okay? Next slide. Okay, fasting. So, apologies for speeding up. I'm just conscious of time. There's well-documented health benefits. Okay? So we're going to talk about how you can maximize this in Ramadan and some tips to prevent hunger. Okay? Next slide. Look, fasting promotes blood sugar control. It drops your sugar to a decent baseline. Okay? It makes your insulin work better. You lose weight. It reduces inflammation by reducing fat. It boosts your immune system. Okay? It reduces your blood pressure and your cholesterol, improves your brain function, and it actually delays aging. Proven. Okay? It's wonderful. Okay? So there's lots of good benefits for it. Next slide. And it's not just for Ramadan. So have you guys heard of the 5-2 diet? Really famous, okay? It's a really good diet. But look, we have a 5-2 diet. Every Monday, every Thursday, it's sunnah to fast. Okay? You have Ayyamul Bid, 13th, 14th, and 15th of every month. I was with my children. I think it was my son. We worked out if we really commit to fast Monday, Thursday, Ayyamul Bid, 9 first days of Dhul Hijjah, 2 days of Muharram, 6 days of Shawwal, along with Ramadan. If we do that, okay, do you know how many percentage-wise, how many days are you fasting for the year? 40%. Okay, that's a win-win situation. Why? Because of course, yeah, you're doing it for health benefits, but it's a double win because you actually get reward for fasting, which is immense. Okay, and it's a good control. If you want to control your nuts, fasting is amazing. So we have this all year round, and what I want you to do is just try it and watch your health improve. Okay? Some of you are connected to our late Hazrat Rahimullah. He said this once in a bayan in Bali in November when it was short days. This was short days, and he said, try it and watch your health improve. And it does, and he was right, Rahimullah. Okay? Next slide. Ramadan tips. Okay, so prepare before Ramadan. Okay? So either reduce your intake now, so you don't struggle. It ain't going to work. If you carry on like normal, and then the first of Ramadan comes, you're going to struggle. Headaches, tiredness, you're going to feel fed up. Okay, and spiritually you won't feel good as either. So reduce your intake now, or try to fast on the Sunnah days. And I have to say this, okay? Ramadan is not a festival. It's a ibadah. It's a worship. It's not a festival. The ulama will tell you there's karahiyat in preparing foods that you only prepare for Ramadan and you don't prepare it for the rest of the year. It's not a time where all the good stuff comes out. It's supposed to be complete opposite. Okay? So just bear that in mind, okay? Plan your meals so you end up having to cook less, and make it as diverse as possible. Okay? Think of colours of the rainbow. That's what your plate should look like. Okay? And to get those colours, you need what? Veg. Okay? More veg than anything else. Don't overeat. You defeat the object of Ramadan. Okay? Don't overeat. And drink plenty of water to keep hydrated. We talked about this at the beginning. Don't mistake hunger for thirst. Okay? Keep well hydrated. So what I tend to do at Sehri is drink up loads of water. Okay? And then again after Tarawih. And that's my alarm clock. Because it will wake me up. Okay? You know what you get for drink? Next slide. Sehri. Have a good one. Okay? Have a good one. Our Prophet hasn't recommended to have a good one. Okay? It is barakah in it, in having Sehri. Never skip it, especially the long fast that we're going to see soon. And like I said, drink plenty of water, and if you can't stomach too much water, eat water-based foods, especially fruits, especially melon. That's why it's called watermelon. Okay, it's got tons of stuff in it. Cucumber. Okay, and think for breakfast I'm going to have slow-release carbs and protein-rich foods, so it stays in my system longer. So when I wake up after I sleep after Fajr, and then I wake up to go to work, I don't feel hungry. Okay, it stays on you for a little bit longer. In other words, sorry lads, you have to not have cocoa pots for Sehri anymore, okay? No cocoa pots for Sehri, it ain't going to work. Next slide, iftar. Now, pay attention to this, okay? Break your fast with khajur and water, and that's it. Okay, that is it. The first time I did this, right, I was like, what is going on here? When I went for i'tikaf in Darul Uloom, first time, okay? I was expecting samosa. What do you get? You get samosa, you get these spring rolls, you get this, you get that, you know, green milk or pink milk, right? And I was thinking, what is this? But spiritually, it is unbelievable what it does to you if you just have that. Allah reward Shaykh Rahimullah. But just follow this process, okay? Just have dates and water, nothing else. And then go to the masjid, and if you have it in the masjid, just have dates and water and run from that dastakhan. And go and sit and wait for namaz. And then eat only once after the Maghrib prayer. That's it, just once. Okay, just once. And follow the list of foods that we've already talked about. Unfortunately, what happens is we eat as if we've never seen food before. And it really is disgraceful when we look at ourselves. You know, studies show that the weight of the Muslim goes up in Ramadan. It's supposed to go down, it goes up. Because we eat as if we've never seen food before, and it's just terrible. And the waste is just, you know, disgrace. I mean, we talked about this in some of the other seminars. You know, if you don't want to overeat, how did the Prophet eat? How did he eat? First he used his, how many fingers? 3. You try eating like this, it's actually impossible. It really is. Okay? How did he sit? One knee up, yeah? Like that, or he used to crouch down without the bottom touching the ground, okay? Rarely he'd sit like this. But if you try eating like that, it keeps your digestive tract straight. So once you get full, it tells you, because you get regurg. Okay? These things don't happen by accident. Okay? These things that the Prophet didn't happen by accident. Remember, it's wahi. If you just try eating how the Prophet ate, you'll be fine. We just don't want to listen, do we? To our Prophet. Next slide. Sorry about that. My brother did boycott these talks, right? Avoid fried foods in Ramadan. In fact, as much as you can, but especially in Ramadan. Avoid sugary foods. Okay, you're going to crash. You'll get that burst of energy, and then you'll crash. Have you ever had that? You've eaten something, you feel good, and then within an hour, you feel sleepy. Okay, that's what happens in Ramadan. So when you're in Tarawih, and you want to pay attention, okay, and remember, what a mechanism to get us to listen to the whole Quran from beginning to end. It's a period where you want to be awake. And, you know, learn Arabic. You have to. And if you haven't, make a commitment. Okay? Because there's no other mechanism out there in other religions where you get to listen to the whole book from beginning to end. Okay? Really. Okay, limit your salt intake because it just makes you thirsty. Avoid sunflower or corn oil. Makes you tired. Okay? And limit your caffeine because it acts as a diuretic. It makes you go to the toilet. Okay? Limit it as much as you can throughout Ramadan. Okay, next slide should be keep active. And remember, what happens is if you don't do any activity, your muscles waste away. Okay, so keep relatively active, and if you can, after Iftari, if you're worried about feeling bloated or sluggish in Tarawih, just do a post-Iftari 5 to 10 minute workout, that's it. Some squats, some lunges, running on the spot, kettlebell exercises, which we'll talk about in a minute. But just do something to keep a little bit active. Okay? So on that note, let's just stretch for about 10 seconds. Okay? Get that brain moving again. You stand up. So what I want you to do, I want you to imagine, the sisters can do this, don't shyness, don't worry. Get your right hand. Yeah? And put it on your chin. See, some of you put it on your head. I said chin. Now you woke up, yeah? Just stretch. You know, you can lift the diaphragm, you release dopamine, it goes to your brain. When you move, the brain grooves. That's what memory experts say. Okay, let's sit back down again. So I'm sorry I'm rushing, but I'm just conscious of time. You know, these things, they need a bit more time, but time is time because of Ramadan. So next slide should be a gym, and the slide after that should be, are you active or inactive? So we talked about diet, okay? Now talk about exercise and activity. So again, like we talked about, I want you to just ask yourself a few questions, okay? Are you active or inactive? And what I mean by this is I don't mean I'm a busy Asian running around doing chores, okay? You've heard that phrase, right? That doesn't mean that you're active. It doesn't, okay? And just ask yourself, am I active or inactive? How do I spend my time? Because if you look at England, generally in the north, okay, we do far less exercise than those down south. Okay? Any ideas why? Obvious one. Huh? Rain. Right? Rain's one. Okay, we don't want to go out when it rains. Any other reason? Generally, socio-economically, people are economically better off down south. Okay, they say that north and south divide, yeah? When you're more well off, you have more access to gyms and maybe you can flex at work and stuff like that. But generally there is a divide. Okay, so up north, we're at risk because we don't actually exercise as much. But check this out, this is England, okay? 1 in 4 women, 1 in 4 men actually do less than 30 minutes of moderate physical activity per week. Per week. Not day, per week. Okay? 34% of men, 24% of women do muscle strengthening exercises twice a week. That's it. Just twice a week. And this is a terrible one. Men are more likely than women to spend more than 6 hours sitting, okay, on weekdays and weekends. Now, why do you think that is? Because we sit there with our remote control or our tablet or our phone or PlayStation for hours, just sat there. And you know, personally, I don't want to offend anybody, but I can't see what would possess a man to spend an hour or 2 hours playing PlayStation. I really can't, my brain can't get past that. 1 hour, I can understand a game or two with your mates, but 1 hour, 2 hour, all-nighters just sat there, or on the phone playing bakwas games, for, you know, like that babies play. You know, I don't have a smartphone, okay? And we'll talk about this in a minute, why it's important to not have one, right? But I've got Snake. Do you remember Snake? Right? People spend hours playing games on these things. You think, you're a grown, educated man. And then what do? They go, tea. You know, Bichari's been running around, right, being that busy Asian doing chores, hasn't had a chance to have her cup of tea. You're sat there for hours playing your game or watching nonsense, whatever you're watching, and then begum, China. Right? It's terrible. So what happens is, psychologically, this is what happens. When you do less activity, your muscles become weak, full stop. Okay? Weak muscles use oxygen less effectively. You start feeling breathless because you can't get that oxygen in and out as well as you can. Then psychologically you feel scared of doing activity. It's going to hurt, it's too painful, too much, too taxing for my body. So you avoid it. You just simply avoid it. And then the cycle continues. It just goes on and on and on. Next slide. It should be paradigm shift. Okay? So what I want you to do is, look, if your children, this is about generation changes. Okay? Like I said before, when was the last time you saw an Asian run? You probably don't. Okay? Or an Asian cycle or swim. You don't. Okay? There needs to be a massive shift in the way we view things. Now look, it starts with you, us. especially us as parents, if your children see you as being active, okay, they will be active. If they see you wasting your life, just swiping your life away, okay, browsing endlessly, or playing games, or just sat there watching stuff of no real meaning or benefit, they're going to imitate you. So what you need to do is unplug from these devices and unplug your children from these devices. On average, you know how many hours a child spends on a tablet or a phone a day? A child in this country. 6.5 hours a day. I mean, how do you do that? How on earth do you do that? Do you know how often an adult checks their phone in this country? Every 12 minutes. You see it, next time you have a look, right? Next time you come to the masjid, you're waiting for namaz to start, right? What are you supposed to do when you're waiting for the adhan? You're supposed to be in dhikr, preparing yourself for salah, making yourself ready. Watch. People get their phone out, and what do? They just flick their finger about, not doing anything, just flick it about, and then put it back in again. What's that called? Screen addiction. Okay, just what? Look, the litmus test is this. If you wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do is check your phone, you know you have a problem. That's the litmus test. If the first thing you do after, when you wake up, is not read the Masnoon Dua, is not wipe your eyes with the palm of your hands, is not go and wash your hands, make wudu, and get ready for Fajr. If it's not any of that, and you check your phone first, you have a problem. Okay, that thing has got you. So, 2 weeks ago I was mentioning this in Manchester, and alhamdulillah, one brother, he said, you know what? He said, I say this to a lot of people, I have this rule. For the first hour of the day, I learned this from a memory expert, for the first hour of the day, don't touch your phone. Okay? And for the last hour of the day, don't touch your phone. He said, thank you so much for telling me that, now I can make it for Fajr. I don't touch my phone, I've got nothing to do. So, I'm going to go make wudu, and I'm going to head to the masjid. And he's there before some of the other people there, so he's got into this routine now because he doesn't check his phone. Just ignore it. And don't say, I need it for my alarm clock. Buy an alarm clock. It's £5 on Amazon. I'll buy you an alarm clock. It's £5 on Amazon. Okay? Just get rid of it from the room. Okay? And when you want to go on, just think, look, let me just get out and enjoy the world. Otherwise, make the world a beautiful place. Okay? Just go and enjoy it. And make it a regular family thing. Okay? If you do it as a family, the children will inherit that as being something of value. Okay? Really, really important. Okay? I don't have a television. I have no regrets. I don't feel like I'm missing out on the world. I don't have a smartphone. I have no regrets. Okay? I find it bonkers. My wife tells me that some people get offended if you don't reply on time. WhatsApp, you got these like little ticks. And I find it bizarre that some of our ulama have to me say, oh, sorry for the delay, I've been a bit busy. And I'm thinking, why is he talking like that? I don't want an apology, I don't need an apology, and you shouldn't have to apologize. You're a busy guy. This thing about why don't you reply? It's madness. Well, it's madness. People have this so, and also I want to say, because we talk about rain, it's okay if it rains. You can go out when it rains. They're not going to, fall ill. That's what we do, don't we? Oh, well, but no, you can't go. I was like, of course you can. Enjoy yourself. Okay, next slide. Just ask yourself, am I swiping my life away? I had a patient, right, check this out, a 15-year-old girl. And suffered from migraine. So I asked her about her diet and exercise. I said, how much time do you spend on your phone? She said, I don't know. So on these phones you can have a screen, what's it called? Yeah, it tell you how long you spent on your phone, yeah? So I looked at it, and she spends 8 to 9 hours a day on her phone. I said to her, look, how many hours a day do you sleep? At night do you sleep? She said about 7, 8. I said, look, if you live for 60 years, 1/3 of your life has gone sleeping. She went, okay. I said, and 1/3 of your life has gone on your phone. I said, you haven't lived. You see that? And that's what you have to ask yourself. That the amount of time that I'm spending on my phone, is it productive, is it meaningful? Okay? Really, and these are like little things, but if you think about it, like if anybody's suffering from any relationship problems with their husband or wife, why don't you do this? Why don't you ditch your phone? Instead of the first thing you do is check your phone. Just look at your loved one and say, Assalamu alaikum. Asbahtu bil khayr. Watch your life change just by doing that, instead of being glued to your phone. Okay? And at night time, what happens? No one talks anymore. They're just on their phones. What sort of relationship is that? It really, if you want to know why am I having relationship problems, it's because you're not emotionally connecting. And the reason why you're not emotionally connecting to the one that you're supposed to emotionally connect to is because you're glued to something else. Okay? Simple as, just ask yourself, am I swiping my life away? Next slide. And protect your children's fitrah. Okay? I put this in on purpose because these things, they erode their fitrah. They do. Okay? If you unplug, then unplug. Alhamdulillah, my children are not interested. They're just not interested. Okay? And you teach them why. Because you have a higher goal. You have a higher purpose. Okay? And then it allows them to connect with the world around them. Okay? It's so important, especially in this samana, that our children can reflect. And it's ridiculously important. You know, some of us who are connected with Hazrat, once he came to my father's house and I was driving him. I was 18 years old at that time. Okay? No brain, still not a brain, but no brain. Right? I'm 18, 19 years old. And he was walking from my father's house to the car. And then suddenly he stopped. It was a beautiful day. And he looked up and he said, look at the sky. Allahu Akbar. And I looked up. And I'm 18, 19, and I'm looking at him. I'm thinking, it's just a blue sky. And he's like, lost. And he's lost. Right? I'm thinking, have I missed something? And he said, look at that. And he's lost. And then he looks at me and he says, Kidnapper, how much difference? 20 minutes ago, it was pouring down. And 20-minute drive to here, and it's beautiful. He said, look at Allah. And this is someone who was deeply connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At that time, I didn't think much of it. When I think of it now, gosh, I paid attention then. And that's someone who's deeply connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what you want your children to do. But they can't do that if they've got a screen in front of them all the time. They can't do that. Do you know why the sky is blue, according to some of our ulama? And do you know why the grass is green, according to some of our ulama? So your colour spectrum, okay, you have UV light, microwaves. You can't see the true extremes. And in between you have colour spectrum. Slap bang in the middle of the colour spectrum is what? Sky blue and moss green. It's the easiest thing for your eyes to see. And when you're 18, 19, you just look at the shape and think, well, okay, are you okay? But actually he was okay. He was deeply engrossed with the power of Allah and the magnificence of creation. Slap bang in the middle. And so in some places in the world, when people are stressed out, they have colour therapy. They go in a room and all they see is sky blue. Makes them feel bad. But your children can't do that if they're glued to these things. So just unplug. That's my message. Next slide. Why? Okay? Because if you are glued to this thing here or this thing here, you won't get out. But check this out, okay? What are the health benefits of physical activity? So just look, it reduces your mortality risk by 30%. You have 30% less chance of dying of a illness, okay? It reduces your heart disease risk by 35%. You have a reduced risk of diabetes, okay, by 40%. Reduced risk of colon cancer by 30%. Breast cancer by 20%. Depression by 30%. Strengthens your bones, so your chances of your hip being fractured is reduced by 68%. Reduces your dementia by 30%. This thing causes dementia. There's a term called digital dementia. Okay, it actually does change the way your brain develops with age. It actually does bring on memory problems. Okay, but look, this is just exercise. If this was a drug, a pill, and I had it on a prescription, would you take it? You definitely would, wouldn't you? This is free. Okay? This is absolutely free and anyone can do it. And it's proven that it reduces these things significantly. Okay? So you have to do it. Okay? Next slide. So let's look at diabetes, okay? Next slide. What happens is when you do regular physical activity, and we'll talk about how much you need to do in a minute, it simply makes your insulin work better. So in other words, your sugar control will be better. It will lower your sugar levels, that will lower your blood pressure, and that will lower your cholesterol. That will control your weight, and your reduction of having heart problems or diabetic complications will significantly reduce, okay? And guess what? It's free. no side effects. You won't feel sick, you won't feel dizzy, you won't have to have any checks on anything to see if medication is affecting your kidneys or anything like that. It's absolutely free. If this was a drug, would you take it if you had diabetes? You would, wouldn't you? Okay? Next slide. Let's look at heart disease. So the heart's a muscle. Okay? Heart is a muscle. When you strengthen it through exercise, it strengthens. Okay? That's number one. Number two, it reduces fat. It declogs arteries. Okay? Because the blood has to pump around faster, it breaks it away. It reduces your blood pressure very significantly. Okay? And ultimately reduces your chances of a stroke or a heart attack. If this was a drug, would you take it? You definitely would, wouldn't you? Okay? And this is free, no side effects. Okay? Next slide. Some people say, oh, because I've got arthritis, I can't. And I say to my patients, really? Do you really believe that? Or are you locked in the pain cycle? Okay? The pain cycle is what we were talking about. It's too painful, I can't do it. Actually, it's proven now that physical activity can reduce your pain significantly more than any painkiller long term, more than any painkiller on the planet. So if you know anybody who's on lots of medication for pain relief, it's proven now. We're trying to de-prescribe in our practice, and not just me, across the country, across the world actually, especially opioids, morphine, codeine, tramadol, okay? The evidence of its long-term efficacy is poor. At best, it will last 3 months. That's it. Okay? There's more long-term convincing evidence that exercise actually reduces your pain, ultimately improves your function, and ultimately improves your quality of life, because life is much better when you're out than when you're in. Okay? It's much better to get out than to just look at four walls. Okay? So there's lots of convincing evidence. Now, if this was a drug, if this was on prescription, would you take it? Of course you would. Okay? But you can, it's free. Okay? Anyone can take this. Next slide. So some people say, well, I possibly cannot help my mental health. Impossible, doctor. Next slide. Yeah, it does. It's proven that it improves your mood, actually helps with depression and anxiety, lowers your risk if you don't have it, and if you do have it, it helps, lifts your self-esteem, and it reduces your stress levels. Proven. I have a patient, he's in his 50s, and Allah save us, his wife had an affair, got divorced, the house had to be sold, they both got 50-50. He said, I went from a beautiful house, family, to on my own in this small flat. Right? He came to see me, he said, I have no reason to live. He was suicidal. Okay? The dilemma I had, he didn't want to go on medication. He was a man. Okay? Men don't like talking. Didn't want to go see a therapist. So I spent quite a long time convincing him to run. He said, I'm trying to kill myself and you tell me to run. I said, just listen to me. And I convinced him. Okay? He still says when he sees me, okay? He said, Doc, if you didn't convince me that day, I'd be dead. He went from 0 to running 8 kilometers a week. From what? 0 to 8 kilometers. He said, this is what keeps me alive. It naturally releases endorphins to the brain. It's the happy hormone, okay? It's powerful stuff, exercise. Next slide. How does it affect your brain? Proven, okay? If you exercise, and we'll talk about how often, you think better, your memory's better, your concentration is better, your response is better, your attention is better, your sleep is better, actually repairs some brain damage if you have had any, through, say, for example, stroke or any demyelination, say, for example, MS. It actually helps repair brain cells, okay? Most importantly, it boosts your decision making because you feel more alert and awake, okay? Exercise, I don't like using the term, but exercise is magic, okay? Next slide. So what do you do, okay? Next slide. First, most important thing is break the brain freeze and the brain lock. Okay, remember we talked about when my colleague said to me, come on, let's go, I can't run. That's brain freeze, okay? Next slide. So, if you do more physical activity, okay, your muscles become stronger, it utilizes the oxygen better, you become less breathless because your lungs are on ball now, they're on top of their game. Okay, you figure out, your body figures out how to utilize that oxygen better. Goes to the muscle better, the muscles feel less weak, less pain. You feel better. What happens? That improves your motivation to go and do something. Okay? And then the cycle continues. Okay? But it's about starting first. Okay? Small steps. You don't have to go to the gym and smash it out for an hour. If you do 5 minutes every day, just Have like a plan. 5 minutes every day for 2 weeks, I'm going to do this. Then the next week, 10 minutes every day. Then the next week, 20 minutes. Just do something, but start slow. But this is how you break the cycle. The second thing, and I know I'll go on about it next slide, is ditch your phone. Now I know no one's going to ditch their phone, okay? But I believe, I've been told by people, you can have things on your phone that doesn't allow you to check certain things with certain times. Is that true? Someone's telling me you can actually put a blocker on your phone so that 9 till 5, no matter how many messages I get, or how many WhatsApp messages I get, or emails, it won't alert me. Okay, you can get these apps, you can put it to sleep. You know, all these so you only check your phone at certain times. You know, people at work, they've got their laptop like this, they've got their phone like this. Like bang in the middle. As if, you know, oh my God, man. Okay, it's about having that healthy distance. And look, try it, okay? Life will be much calmer, okay? You'll be able to breathe, okay? Some of these emails are toxic, okay? Emails, WhatsApp, it's just people's dumping ground. Just dumping stuff onto you and expecting you to respond as well, right? Your life, you'll be able to breathe, no one's down your back, okay? And the most important thing, you'll have bags of time. You'll have bags of time to do meaningful stuff. We talked about it earlier. Just have a plan, have a goal. Because you won't be able to do it for this Ramadan, but next Ramadan, I want to have a goal that when I am in Taraweeh, most of what I'm listening to is going to be real-time understanding. Most of what I listen to with the Imam, when he's reading the Quran, is going to be real-time understanding. Okay? Just commit yourself to learn. We know brothers, 1 hour a week. 1 hour a week, and within a year they could comfortably understand large portions of the Quran. No one's saying, to get to the level of ulama, because they have a different role, because they're dealing with really complex texts that they need to teach and dissect. We're talking about just at a very basic level, so that when you're in namaz, you're not clock watching. You're not there. People do this in their namaz, in Tarawih. They just in their salah, they're like this, and then they go to the imam and say, "You took too long today, man." People do this. You took too, and then people decide to go to the one that's the shortest. So that wasn't what. And just think about your daily prayer. Like, what a mechanism to connect with Allah, right? So that your daily prayer, you're not daydreaming. It's in real time, okay? But you can't do that if you're swiping your life away on these things, okay? Next slide. So how much do you do? Okay, aim for 150 minutes of moderate, intense activity, okay, each week. And you can do that 10 minutes at a time, 20 minutes at a time, 30 minutes at a time. But all you've got to aim for is 150, okay? That's it. It's not a lot, okay? Or twice a week, 75 minutes of real intense activity, okay? Yeah, we're going to do that, yeah. Okay, so that's numbers, that's times, yeah. But also twice a week, do something that's strength exercise, okay? So it can be weights, it can be yoga or Pilates or Tai Chi that deal with core muscles, or even carrying your shopping, okay? So I walk when I go shopping. And once I was carrying these bags home, one of my friends who was driving, he did an emergency brake. What's going on? Are you alright? Is your car broken? I'm not walking, it's not a big deal. Just carry your shopping, okay? And minimize the amount of time that you sat down. Okay? So if you're at home and you think, I've been sat down for an hour, get up. Just move. Okay? Just move to break that cycle. Okay, next slide. So what counts as moderate physical activity, okay? This. Walking, gardening. Any of you garden? What is wrong with you guys? Gardening is, if you want to connect with Allah, go and garden. I'm telling you, it's just unbelievable. Gardening is really, really good for the soul, and it's actually good exercise as well. Okay. Unfortunately, what do? We flag everything. We go and buy a house, beautiful front driveway with grass, beautiful back garden, and then we go, right, let's just call the building and just flag it. Okay. Gardening is it's lovely. Go hiking. There's loads of places around here. Loads. Okay? Martial arts. Do it. It's good. It's good fun. Especially if you've got boys. Let out some steam. Okay? Cycling, I enjoy cycling. Cycling's amazing. Okay? Feel really good. Feel free. Okay? It's really good. Cycling. Football, badminton, tennis, racket sports, whatever. Okay? Swimming. Really good sport. Okay? Swimming's great. These are classes all moderate. But when you do it, you want to do it at a pace where you can feel your heart beating just a little bit faster. Okay? So when I say walking, I don't mean just dragging your feet. I mean walking at a pace where you can feel your heart going faster. So an example could be like, for example, how far is the masjid from your house? Is it walkable for most people? Right, commit, no matter what. I'm not going to be on my phone and then last minute looking at the clock and then running to the masjid. I'm going to plan myself so that I'm going to be able to walk to the masjid at a good pace and get there in time for Namaz. I'm going to walk home. Okay, if you do that 5 times a day, okay, you get at least 50 minutes in. 5 minutes there, 5 minutes back. That's 50 in a week already there just by going to the masjid. It's just little things, okay? Next slide. A few ideas. You could commit to a gym, okay? In Trafford, where I work, GPs can refer you to a gym. Okay? They can actually refer you to a gym and just find out if they can here. Okay? Just ask. They may be able to refer you. And then you get a subscription, a membership for a reduced rate. If you're gym shy and you can't commit to a gym, just buy some equipment and bring it home. And just commit to something at home. Like an exercise bike or a running machine or a cross trainer or a rowing machine. Okay? Some GP practices where I work have walking groups. So in my practice, every Tuesday, 1:30 to 2:30, anyone's welcome. They go for a 1 hour walk. Especially people who are lonely in your community, it's worth informing them about them. Or you could just set up an initiative. You can set up anything, really. So next slide, what initiative? So you could set up a walking group from here. Every, Tuesday, between this time, we're going to go for a walk. Or you could set up a running club. Okay? Or you can set up a cycle club. A lot of massages have cycle clubs now, where someone who's trained in running the cycle club takes people for a ride. And you've heard of those brothers who go for Hajj? That's how they started. Some charities they go to Paris, to raise money. This is how all these things start from. Or even a swimming club, like in Bolton, do they have men's only swimming? You have it here. Encourage your local area to say, look, we need more slots because the appetite is big. Do they have women's only? I presume yeah, it's good. But encourage more so that more people can engage. Because the problem is, because there's so few in Manchester anyway, because there's so few, these programs are just rammed. And the people don't go because they don't actually get a chance to swim. Okay? Or just set up a regular sporting activity that people can engage with. Next slide. Because people are more likely to engage when they're in groups than when they're on their own. It's very hard to keep yourself motivated if you're on your own. It's more likely for people to engage when you're in groups. Okay? Next slide. The point is do something. Don't do nothing. Do something. Okay? Even if it's 5 minutes a day, start off. 5 minutes a day, I'm going to commit to doing this. Every day, no matter what. And I'm going to build it up to 10. And then 20. And then 30. And try and get your 150 minutes in. Okay? Next slide. So some people say, I don't have time. Okay? Have you heard that? Do you guys say it? I don't have time. Okay? Next slide. You're lying. You have no barakah in your time. Okay? And I really want you to pay attention to this. Okay? You have no barakah in your time. Our ulama, Allah give them jazaa khair, they explain how do you get barakah in your time. The reason why you don't have barakah in your time is because you're concerned with things that actually don't concern you. You're involving yourselves in things that are of none of your business. Okay? So, in the Shama'il of the Prophet ﷺ, there's a long description of the Prophet ﷺ's external and internal. Is when the grandchildren of the Prophet ﷺ went to Hind ibn Abi Hala. And one of the questions that they asked him radiallahu anhu was, what was the Prophet ﷺ like ma'a julasa'ihi, with the people that was around him? And it starts off with da'iman bil bishr, always smiling, sahlul khuluq, he was soft in his disposition, layyin al janib, easygoing, soft in his disposition. And then you keep going, then the narration says, وَتَرَكَ مِن نَفْسِهِ ثَلَاث. 3 things he just stopped doing, the Prophet ﷺ. First one, jidal, arguing, mirah. He never used to argue the Prophet ﷺ, never used to debate, never used to argue. We spent hours debating and arguing, especially with this thing. It's like virtual debates and virtual online arguments. And it's like you don't even see the guy and you're arguing. It's like hours go by, honest. And the Prophet didn't do that. The second thing, ikthar. He wasn't someone who was obsessed with just having stuff. Some people are just obsessed with just having stuff. They're just never content. I just want another one, another one, another one, another this, another that. And they're just never content. Never. But he wasn't like that. وَلَا تَمْنُنْ تَسْتَكْثِرْ. That Allah, one of the first revelations, don't, have this desire to just have lots of stuff. أَلْهَاكُمُ التَّكَاثُرُ. Okay? So, second thing. And the third thing, وَمَا لَا يَعْنِي. He left things that didn't concern him. The Prophet ignored things that just did not concern him. مِنْ حُسْنِ إِسْلَامِ مَرْءٍ تَرْكُهُ مَا لَا يَعْنِي. From the excellence of someone's Islam is to just leave things that don't concern him. Now the problem with these things is that they involve you without you even realizing into all these three things. Argumentation, debate, wasting time on things that really don't concern you, and ikthar, looking at things where you think, oh, should I get this? Because it's very easy now, isn't it, to just get whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want. Okay? And that's how you lose barakah in your time. That's how you lose barakah in your time. إِنَّ اللَّهَ حَرَّمَ عَلَيْكُمْ عُقُوقُ الْأُمَّهَاتِ. Indeed, Allah has made it prohibited for you to disobey your mother. وَوَأْدَ الْبَنَاتِ, and bury your children alive. وَمَنْعَ وَهَادِ, to withhold when you're supposed to give and not give when you're and not give when you're supposed to. And then what? كَرِهَ لَكُمْ قِيلْ وَقَالْ. Allah detests for you. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? Which is what? These things. No. That's when it starts. وَكَثْرَةُ السُّؤَالِ, asking too many questions, وَإِضَاعَةُ الْمَالِ, and hoarding wealth. But that's how you lose barakah in your time. Just think. That's all I want you to do. Just think about it. Okay? Next slide. And the key is self-discipline. Okay? Look, your character is formed by what? Your habits. Your habits are formed by your self-discipline or not. If you have self-discipline, you have good habits. If you have good habits, you have good character, that's who you are. If you have no discipline, you have bad habits, you have emotional habits that are bad, physical habits that are bad, dietary habits that are bad, okay? You name it, it's bad. Then your character is bad. So it's all about self-discipline. It's about doing things when you actually don't want to do it, but you know you should do it. And that's what the key is for diet and exercise, is this internal self-discipline. The most successful people in the world, in any field, have ridiculous self-discipline. Like to some next level. Once, when they used to do Laylatul Nur, yeah? Once I was on the Sahari Dastakhan, right? And Hazrat Rahimullah came. And I ushered to him, stupidly, cereal, bread, some stuff that was there. And he looked around and he said, Sab cheese mele mamnu. Everything here is, I can't have. And he had 2 bowls of fruit for Zahri, and then walked off. Once he was at my father's, and you've been to Costco? Yeah, their cakes are dangerous. Yeah, Costco cakes are dangerous, right? And that was the only thing we had. Some tea and Costco cake. And he looked at it, and we said, come on, can I have some? And he looked at it for ages, and I mean a long time. And then he said, just take the icing off, and I'll just have a little bit of the cake. That's self-discipline. That's self-discipline. To be able, when it's Saturday, you think, oh, I'm not going to eat all day, I need to get some food down me. 2 bowls of fruit. Oh, gosh, I'm like that. 2 bowls of fruit. Next slide. So, if you are busy, okay, you genuinely are, or you're lazy, or both, okay, have you heard of HIIT exercises? High intensity interval training. Consult your GP first whether it's okay for you to do, because you need to have a pulse check, a blood pressure check, the minimum, okay? And if you're on medication, you need to have it checked whether it's okay for you to do. And look into it and get a trainer to show you how to do it before you do it, okay? Because it's actually really good stuff. So what it is, people don't know, you do 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, or 20 seconds on, it's a minute cycle, 20 seconds on, 40 seconds off, or 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off. So like, for example, you can do it in your own home. You just run on the spot, like, you go for it. Like, there's no tomorrow, you just run. Okay, for 30 seconds, then you stop. Then 30 seconds, you do lunges. For 30 seconds, but really go for it. And 30 seconds off. and then you do 30 seconds of squats. Okay, you try and do a 15-minute whole cycle. Okay, it's really good stuff. If you want to get that, quick. Okay, it's good stuff. Okay, next slide. Have you heard of Tim Anderson, Original Strength? Google him. Amazing man. Okay, he's a Canadian chap. Really interesting concept. What he talks about is that we've lost our ability to use our core muscles because we just sit around all day. Okay, and some of the exercises that he does is good for breathing, so it's aerobic, but also good for your core muscles. And in terms of weight loss, the more weight loss will occur if you do exercise, what's called against resistance. Okay, so for example, if you go for a cycle run, you don't want to put it on the easy gears, you want to put it on the hard gears, so that you're really pushing, you really use it. So not only are your lungs and heart working extra harder, your muscles are being involved as well. That's why when you see some people run, they've got a backpack here. They do that to increase their endurance, so they really burn those calories. So what he talks about is that you can do small, in your house or even in this masjid, if it's appropriate, exercises that do both things. So should I show you? Yeah, let me show you. So I'll just pause for the sisters. So what it is, imagine, can I have a volunteer? Who's up for it? Someone. So what it is this, he calls this the tiger walk, right? Now some of you are going to look at me and think, guy does this. But what you do, Marna, is get on your knees like this. So face here. Face that way, yeah? Yeah. And then turn this out so the brothers can see you. And what you do is you need to walk without your knees touching the ground. And your back has to be straight. Now imagine you're a tiger. You just walk forward. How do you feel? No. Yeah, that's it. Now walk backwards. Okay. Now what this does, can you feel it on your arms? Yeah. Can you feel it on your stomach? On your back? Yeah, on my legs. On your legs. Okay. And that was just 2 reps. Okay. I knew you'd laugh. I knew you'd laugh. But what it is, what he talks about is that exercise, you actually use core muscles that you weren't using before, and that's why you're feeling it. And that was what? 2 meters, 3 meters? Yeah? So if you do that for a minute, you'll be out of breath. Not only that, your muscles that you haven't used will wake up. Okay, this is a really good exercise regime to do. Tim Anderson's. Okay, he's got loads of stuff on there. Just check it out. Okay, next slide. Because I've convinced you to stop going on your phones, you're going to start reading books now, yeah? This is a really good book, Spark. Okay, if you want to understand the science behind exercise and how to really improve your physical and brain performance, just get hold of it. It's a really good book. Okay, next slide. What about muscle strength? Okay, we talked about Tim Anderson. What's another way of doing it? Next slide. Make roti. Unfortunately, that will not build any of your muscle strength. Okay, no matter how many rotis you make. Next slide. Proper stuff. Okay, first get a trainer, and what you want to aim for is just tone. You don't have to be this massive, muscly person. Okay, you don't have. You can if you want to, but just aim to tone first. Okay. Now, if you're busy, or you're lazy, or you're just shy, get hold of a kettlebell and get a trainer first to show you how to use it, because you can do your backing if you don't do it properly. And online, you can find loads of kettlebell workouts, 10-minute workouts, 15-minute workouts, 30-minute workouts. But kettlebell exercise is actually a quick way of building up your muscle strength. And just like aerobic, you need to do 150 minutes moderate, 75 minutes vigorous. You need to do this twice a week. Okay? So running isn't enough, cycling isn't enough. You have to do something against resistance. Because what happens is when you do like weights, your muscles wake up. Okay, and they tell your brain, I need a blood supply. And actually what happens is the body's amazing. It can actually create new blood vessels, capillaries, to increase that blood flow to your muscles, so your muscles become stronger. So you have to do both. You can't do one or the other, okay? You have to do both. Okay, next slide. Sunnah sports. So there's loads of stuff up and down the country possible to set up here if you have the appetite. So some of the things that brothers and sisters are talking about now is horse riding. Anybody been horse riding? Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's really hard. You have to be really your core muscles have to really be there actually to be able to ride that horse for a long period, especially when they're going fast. Martial arts, okay, really good sunnah sport to get involved. Swimming and archery. Okay, archery is actually really good for mental health. Really good for mental health. It's really calming. Okay, and if you've got the appetite and you've got the means, set something up here. Okay, next slide. And I have to say this, okay? You have to work as a team, okay? So women are the first madrasa for our children, okay? We say this a lot, okay? But listen, if you want your women folk to be able to function optimally, okay? Get maximum benefit, they have to look after themselves as well, okay? So what we have to do as men, as husbands, okay, and brothers, is we should free up their time so that they can look after themselves as well. Okay? We need to free up their time so they can look after. It's not good enough that you get to do what you want to do, but they don't. Okay? It's just not good enough. And for me, life is not just about cooking and cleaning. Okay? That cannot be the definition of our women. It can't be. Okay? And it works both ways. Okay? So women, free up time for your menfolk as well. Okay? And the key is, and this is the next slide, okay? Just learn to have this motto in your life, okay? Complete each other, don't compete with each other. Okay, one of our ulama said this to us. It's a beautiful statement that he said. He said, complete each other, don't compete with each other. And what that means is that in relationships, there's like an obsession now with us, where all we say to the other is, am I right? It's my right? Am I right? Actually, it's not about that. It's about recognizing what your rights and responsibilities are, and actually the prophetic way is to let go of your rights, never relinquish your responsibilities, but let go of your rights for the other. And that's how you complete each other. Okay, so just plan ahead, have a weekly timetable. Okay, you do this, I do this on this day, you do this on this day, I'll watch the kids, you watch the kids on this day, you do the drop-offs this day, I'll do that. You have to work together. Okay? And you'll find your relationship will improve as well. Next slide. I think this is really important. So, post-birth, okay, for the women, really important to follow the physio exercises that the GP or the midwife gives you to strengthen your pelvic muscles. Because if you don't strengthen your pelvic floor muscles, you'll find it hard to walk, run, swim, exercise in the future. Okay, and this can be done in the comfort of your own home. You don't have to go anywhere to do them in the first 6 to 8 weeks after delivery. Okay. Once your body has recovered, okay, really encourage you to join female-only classes purely to strengthen your core muscles. So Pilates is really good. Anybody tried Pilates? It is rock hard. It's really hard, but it's really good for your core muscles, like really good. Aquafit, so that's in the pool doing exercise. Tai Chi, really good for core muscles. And it's really important for women to do that because they'll struggle long-term, especially with their core muscles. Really, ridiculously important. Next slide. Final thought. So what I want to end with is, look, change is possible. Okay? Like I said, I had patients, whose diabetic control was in the hundreds. Within 3 months, he halved it to nearly normal. Okay? Change is absolutely possible. Okay? But if you want to really motivate yourself, it's about understanding why. And we talked about at the beginning how bad the statistics are for the Muslim health, for Asian health in this country. Okay? You know how, but consistency is the key here. Okay? It's not going to work if you just do it for a week. It's not going to work if you do it for a month. This thing will take 3 months for you to reach your baseline. Okay? And probably longer for you to reach where you want to be. Okay? But everything that we've talked about is actually simple and doable without you not enjoying your food or life, etc. Okay? But consistency is the key. And the biggest thing, you have to remember this, nothing happens without divine providence, which is a translation for tawfiq. Okay? Divine assistance from Allah. Nothing happens. So you have to get on your knees and you have to raise your hands and you have to beg Allah. I said, look, I'm not in good shape, Allah. This body you gave me for free, I haven't looked after it. Okay, it's free. I haven't looked after it. I've wronged myself. You need to help me. Okay, because if you want to change mindset, okay, and you're struggling with it, just know that it's absolutely in Allah's capability to change your mindset. Okay, just like it's possible for Allah to change anything. So nothing happens without tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And next slide, take a look at this, healthy self. If you split the two words, okay, it states, heal thyself. Why is this important? Because if you follow these small tips, not only can you prevent disease from happening, you can actually heal disease. You can actually reverse disease. Okay, I had a patient she was in her 50s, she complained of breathlessness. We did some tests. Diagnostically, she was diagnosed as having heart failure. Okay, she went to the cardiologist. Cardiologist said, yeah, heart failure, this is it, have some drugs, take it easy, have a healthy diet and exercise. She came to see me, she was mortified. I said, I'm in my 50s and I've got heart failure, what does that mean? I'm going to die, she had all these questions. Look, why don't you do this? Again, I convinced her to she had a really super rich diet. I convinced her to exercise. Okay? So I walk every day. I said, okay, power walk with your dog. Power walk, don't just mosey, power walk. So she did that. Fast forward 1 year, she went and had a scan. I said, how was it? She said, you know what? She said, the consultant said, I could not believe that you've reversed heart failure. I've never seen this before. You can reverse disease. Okay, so we're seeing it with diabetes, we're seeing it with blood pressure, we're seeing it with heart conditions. You can reverse certain disease processes by doing these things. Okay. Last slide. So this is a famous narration from our Prophet ﷺ that there's two to the effect. There's two blessings that most people just don't value. Okay. The first is health, and the second is free time. Okay. What I want you to do, I want you to plaster this in your mind, okay? If you have this in your mind every day when you wake up, you will appreciate your health. You will appreciate your free time. You'll have a higher goal, okay? Instead of just, have you heard of the phrase, most people are just existing, very few people are living? Have you heard of that phrase? Yeah, by Oscar Wilde. Most people are just existing. They're just going through the motions. Very few people are living. Okay? If you have this in the forefront, this statement of the Prophet ﷺ, you'll understand how, in fact, it will become super easy for you to do all these things. Okay? Super easy for you to do all these things. Okay, we'll end there, inshallah. Sorry I had to rush because I was conscious of time because we started a little bit late with technical difficulties. Hope I didn't say anything that offended anybody. If I did, then forgive me. So we'll just leave the next 10-15 minutes for any questions, and I'll try my best, inshallah. If you've got no questions, that's actually great.
Have you come across this question that you say that organic oats don't exist anymore?
Organic oats don't exist anymore. No, so where I shop, it's an organic shop. They've always got oats there, and they tell me it's organic. And I trust them a lot, actually. But I can find out.
Some people say that the Sunnah Nabis that we make, Nabis that we do for breakfast.
Talbina.
Talbina, sorry. Talbina, that's made from oats.
That's from barley.
Barley, oh sorry.
Yeah.
Barley, I think. Barley, I don't think that you like this barley.
I don't know. I don't know. Research for next week. Oh yeah, next week, just remember, if we can start at 10:30, because the mental health one will, there's a lot of meat to that one compared to these two. So we'll just give a few minutes. If there's any questions, just send it through. Otherwise, we'll stop it, inshallah. Yes.
Is there a good time to exercise, morning, evening?
Is there a good time to
evenings is more time? Would it make a difference to sleep?
It doesn't make a difference. Whenever it's good for you, it's good for you. Yeah. The point is to just do it. Whenever it's good for you, it's good for you. Just do it.
Is it like when you exercise, you have to sweat?
When you exercise, you have to sweat. Not necessarily. It's about your heart rate. So your heart rate has to be above at least 100 beats per minute, sustained. Okay. So if you don't sweat, great.
Sugar in tea. So people reducing sugar and saying that I want to use sweetness.
Yeah. So sweetness, again, it's about, they've just got tons of chemicals in them. Half of them you don't even know what's in there. There was some research done about it being linked with throat cancer. Not convincing evidence. But first I'd say to you, or anybody who has this, why do you have to have it sweet? I actually said, why do I have to have it sweet? And for some people, it just makes them feel a bit happier. You understand? Usually, when there's that sweet craving, people, not all the time, people usually do it because they want to just feel a bit more, gives them a dopamine release. Why don't you substitute it with a little bit of pure, raw, organic honey? Just a little bit in your tea. It tastes nice. But if you do something for at least 20, 30, 40 days, your taste buds become acquired to it. So that you don't actually need to have that sugar in your tea. And some of us, have you ever had tea with Arabs? Yeah, they've got like the vinegar pourer punch. They just do that. Iranians, they get the sugar cube and they put it at the back of their teeth, their molars, and they drink tea slowly. So why don't you do this? Get a kajur, just put it in your mouth, take the stone out, put it in your mouth, and just drink tea, or keep it sweet. Yeah. Yeah, honey is great. But get organic honey from the beehive. So sisters' questions, superfoods plus protein max, people are selling more sugar on these. No, just anything that's from the ground, just eat that. Or anything that's natural, that's not been touched by a human being. Just eat those. The Prophet had a raw diet. He would eat some things from the ground. He would eat stuff that was grazing out there and brought to him. And I know technology is very, very different, okay? But there's a massive international push to keep things free from stuff. So just try and keep it as simple as possible. Is it necessary to cut out carbohydrates completely? No, not completely. So if you stay on complex carbs, you need carbohydrate for energy, but if you stay on complex carbs, that's your carbs done. But what I would say is refined carbs, so the junk stuff that we talked about, you want to cut that out so that it's not a question anymore in your diet. You can do without it. And then if you do, like for example, you have guests or you go to somebody's house and the only thing they've got for dessert is a chocolate cake, you can control yourself. You can have a small amount without the other person getting offended, and then you don't go all out seconds, all out thirds. It's about reaching that mental state of I can control myself. But to get to that state, it's just worth adopting that little bit of extra, being a bit OTT and saying, right, it's out of my life now until I reach a level of control. That's probably the better way of doing it. Is the high protein, low carbohydrate? Okay, so adolescents and teens. When I say low carb, I only mean refined sugar. Okay? Only mean refined sugar. Complex carbs are usually found in actually relatively healthy things. So for adolescents and teens, complex carbs is fine. Okay? But also, the goal shouldn't be to make your child fat. Culturally, we have this thing, don't we? If they're not big, they're not healthy. Children. That's not the case. They could be perfectly healthy. My boy is really, really skinny. He eats like a horse. But he's got a very good metabolism, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Which diet to follow for hormone balance? So I'll send the slides out. See if I can find it. But it's a really hard diet, this one, but go for it. So it's called Cooking for Hormone Balance. I'm not going to pronounce that name. Just Google Cooking for Hormone Balance. And the first name of the author is Magdalena. But take a look at that. Is a low carb diet suitable for children too? So we've answered that. So just don't give them junk. Complex carbs is fine. Refined carbs is not. Okay, that's the take-home message. And you can get chocolate without sugar. You can get organic chocolate. You can get chocolate without sugar. You can get crisps without sugar. It's an acquired taste. But you can get them. But again, you don't want to be too extreme with these things. Because children, they have this thing about fear of missing out. When they see their other friends and family or school friends having junk. So now and again, give it to them. But just explain to your children what I do with my children is we sit them down and we say, look, the starting point is this, look, you know, we really love you. That's the starting point. And most parents don't say that. The starting point is, look, we really love you. We actually don't want you to make the same mistakes as what we've made. And they go, okay, Abba, what do you mean? I said, well, when I was your age, you know, very loose with what I ate. And, you know, now I'm having problems with X, Y, and Z. And they go, oh, right. I said, we don't want you to have that. Yeah, Dad, you're right. We don't want to have this either. So I'll let you have it, but just know that it's not good for you, and it's only for treats only, really. It's not going to be a regular thing. And there's other things out there that you can eat that's just as nice and won't make you feel ill. And they get that. You understand? They get that. So it's about having that open, semi-adult conversation with your children. Circle back around. Is that it, folks?
Sorry, one more question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about low carb diet for people who are diabetic.
Yeah.
But they're also saying about high fat diet. I don't know whether you could.
So when they say high fat, they just mean the good fats. I've seen that. But that's the good fats. But again, if you're diabetic, just follow the 8-week diet. Okay? The 8-week diabetic diet, this book that we were talking about. If you're diabetic. If you're not a diabetic, then just follow the 5-2 diet, which is written by Michael Mosley. And I would say, because it does depend on your metabolism, it depends on your level of activity when you have fats. It's not just a single variable. But I would say, you know, high fat diet, low carb. I'm not too sure about that, especially if your exercise regime isn't good.
In that case, you'd have to obviously look at something.
Yeah, right. What's your cholesterol? And if your cholesterol, especially your low density lipoproteins, LDLs, which is the bad cholesterol, or triglycerides, which is fatty acids, which is sugars converted to fats, if they're high and you're having a high fat diet, I can't see that working. Jiva.
Go to the superfoods question. You know, they advertise that they're still natural, but they're very concentrated in some way. Is that good or?
So my take on it is that you see, and you don't have to buy my narrative. It's just an opinion, and I'm just one person saying it. But you know, you've got things like superfoods, and you've got things like multivits and stuff like that. So a lot of nutritionists, they say you can get anything you need from natural foods without it being clumped in a little bar or a tablet. You understand? I think you've got to have that as a starting point. Really, have that as a starting point before anything else. Because what happens psychologically, and it's a psychological thing, is that the first thing you have to convince yourself. This is what I tell my patients. The first thing you have to convince yourself is that you don't need to eat as much as you eat. That's the first thing you need to do. Once you pass that, everything's a walk in the park. Because then you only start eating when you're hungry. And when you do eat, you learn when to stop at the same time. And what you choose to eat is super rich in the first place. So you don't need to worry about all these superfoods or tablets and stuff like that. You understand? And that's how the mindset, it's all about life, is all about mindset. If you master this, you master anything. So if you have these brick walls with anything in your life, just ask yourself, what's the psychology behind it? What's really, really stopping me from doing X, Y, and Z? And that's the starting point, and that's what I suggest. I did a study on with a group of patients on smoking cessation. Why? And the reason why I haven't mentioned smoking alcohol is because I'm assuming that we don't smoke and drink. Okay? Because it's not befitting for a Muslim to smoke and drink. And that's why I haven't mentioned it. It shouldn't be a conversation with us anymore. In 2004, there was a massive conference on Islamic medical ethics. It was initiated by a doctor down from Leicester, and he called ulama up and down the country to talk about contemporary medical issues, and the issue of smoking came up. And there's a massive push for, you have on cigarette boxes, smoking kills. There's a massive push to put haram on them. You know that? There's a massive push to put in Arabic haram. You know, you go to restaurants, 100% halal. What does that mean? Not 99? To put haram on, because it's you know, it shouldn't be an issue, but that should be the starting point. The mental state of, you know, unhealthy diet shouldn't be an issue. So this is not who I am. It's all about mindset. I was reading a book yesterday by an American doctor, and when I was reading it, I was thinking, oh, like, this is our prophetic advice. One of the advices that she gives for having a healthy weight is only eat if you're hungry. Get rid of this whole, I'm going to have my breakfast at 7, lunch at 1, evening meal at 6. Her argument is, and again, you don't have to buy it, it's just an idea, is get rid of that. Just eat when you're hungry. And she even says in her book, I forget the author's name, I only got it yesterday, she even says in her book, stop eating when you feel nearly full. And you do that, you won't need these super plus food, whatever it's called. It's quite amazing when I was reading it, so this is all prophetic. Did that Prophet eat on time? Have you ever read that in your durus? That at 9 o'clock he would have breakfast, at 1 o'clock he would... Is it? I'm not lying. Has there ever been anybody who said that he, at this time? We know that he used to come home at what, 10, 11 o'clock after duha, and then say, هل عندكم شيء? Do you have anything? And they say, لا, ما عندنا شيء. We don't have any food. And then what would he say? Inni idhan lasa'im, very famous. As opposed to, what? You got no food. It's that mindset. You know, the Prophet was a beautiful, beautiful human being. Didn't say, you know. We'll stop there, inshallah, because no message. Is that okay? So next week, come to the next one, you'll understand why they're both linked. But we'll start at 10:30, so long as there's no lockdown. Inshallah. Okay.